Hey YouTube, this is Nashtaters. So today I want to give you my final impressions on Rain, the UR unit that was recently released. There's some confusion I made when I first was encountering this unit. I thought he was going to be a limited time unit. It turned out Frevia was the limited time unit. Will she make a return? I'm not sure. If the patterns hold true, seems like the two companies tend to give us reruns. And hopefully she can return later on to give other players a chance to get her, myself included, hopefully. Now, a lot of people thought that Rain and Frevia should have both been non-exclusives. And, I understand. From a marketing perspective, it made sense for them to make Frevia a limited time unit, to disappointment of many, of course, myself included. And that's okay. And end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm just kind of glad this week is almost over. I think going forward, Rain is going to be a really solid unit for me to be part of my team. And unfortunately, I don't own him on my free-to-play account, so I will not be able to highlight him as much on the free-to-play perspective. But I feel like Rain is a very flexible unit still. One of the biggest flaws that I've seen in his AI control is he pretty much only uses his skills to do his fire damage and whatnot. And so right now I'm kind of contemplating how I should build him in terms of faith. I'm keeping him at 50 faith right now. I'm thinking about maybe just bumping him to 97 so he can do a lot of damage. But then I thought about the fact that we're going to be getting the ability to turn the skills off and on. So perhaps I only really want him to do a lot of slashing attacks, because I really want to utilize the Crimson Saber. For those of you who have obtained it, congratulations. And I'm glad that it wasn't too hard to obtain this item. Now, this item does grant defense down, which is a really solid skill. I think if you combine this with some of your other attackers, it's really going to do a lot of damage. I mean, physical attackers, right? And on top of it, it gives you slash attack up 3. So, as you can see, and I said that in my review video, that Rain was going to be a unit that's going to be hard to build, because you have to kind of make a decision of how you want to build him. Do you want him as your magic attacker, or as a magical tank who's going to be relying on slash damage? I'm thinking about leaning towards slash damage and just being a solid tank for magic attacks. So I think that's the route I'm going to go. I think he's an awesome unit, obviously. And one thing I noticed, when you actually have him in combat, he looks very much like Cloud. And I'm thinking if Cloud ever comes to this game, that would be a very fun pair to utilize in combat. Because Cloud is usually one of those units that can do a lot of damage, and then Rain can just soak up all the magical damage and really have Cloud kind of tear his way through. I can't really wait for that if that ever comes. I think talking about Rain with my final impression is going to lead me to thinking about what other units they're going to bring forward. I know I mentioned Evenera perhaps would be the next banner, and maybe Warrior of Light soon after. We only have about 2.5 weeks left-ish in July. So it's pretty obvious we're not going to get all these units a lot of people are trying to think they're coming, or people are predicting what's going to come. And really, there's not much to think about, right? We always know who's going to be coming, usually on Monday morning, and we can better prepare for it then. And I'm like me and every other folk who create content for this game, they're going to be putting up that news video for you. And when that time comes, that time comes. But it's always fun to kind of guess. Moving forward, I hope and I pray that they do give me Warrior of Light sometime soon. Alright, so now if you did summon for Rain and you got him, congratulations. And if you did not get him, I'm really sorry. But one thing I really want to talk about actually, in relations to the game in general, is that this game does in fact have a low summoning rate. And there's no denying that. That's not me complaining about it, that's just me stating an actual fact. 2% is actually one of the lowest on the market. But there's this huge but. And I know people are really quick to judge others, especially over the internet. I just hope that people understand when I talk about the percentages, it doesn't mean that I'm complaining about it. There's this big factor, right? There's two big factors, let me put it this way. first big factor is luck. Now, I did get rain on the very first pull, second pull, something like that. That's called luck. I simply rolled the dice and it rolled in my favor. I hear plenty of times that people put in comments of my videos, other content creators' videos, Discord, and Reddit, whatever. People say they spent thousands and thousands of gems, did not get rain or Frevia, whatever the case is. That's called bad luck, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I'm saying? In the 44,000 video, I did a collaboration with my fiance. If you haven't checked that out, it's in the right corner there for you. I did, made a lot of banter during the summons. I mean, come on, let's be honest. That's a long summoning session. That's why I don't really like doing long summoning session, because you have to kind of fill in the gap to talk about stuff. And I did make a comment about how it's low, maybe it's kind of too low, etc., etc. But there's one thing I didn't talk about, is the fact that you can spend your gems. Actually, what am I saying? I did talk about it in my resource video, in the beginner's guide, actually, that I created months. It seems like eternity ago, but I always said, make sure you spend your resources wisely. And, speaking of the devil, right here, look, I could just buy rain unit shards for 250 gems. Always spend your gems. If you don't have to summon, don't need to summon. And I guess the word, if you don't have to summon, is also loaded as well, right? There's no real quote-unquote need to summon in this game. What I'm saying is, you should be spending your gems to buying shards of units that you already own. And I think that type of conversation will lead to a brand new video I'm going to make soon. It's whether or not you should or shouldn't summon in general, not just on a specific unit. Because everyone is quickly learning that this game is relying on luck heavily, right? Even if you saved up 100,000 gems and you decided to spend it all on, say, I don't know, let's say Agrias from the next Final Fantasy collaboration, Tactics collaboration, and you don't get her and you spend 100,000 gems and there's no way to get her other than to summon. It just ain't meant to be. In fact, it might drive some people up the wall so fast that they might just completely quit the game. And you can't fault them for thinking that way. But that's unfortunately part of the gacha system. That's just how it works. And I think one of the biggest fixes is, in fact, give us the opportunity to get the very first copy of that unit, some way, shape, or form. Now, I don't want to give you my opinion, what I think they should do, because it doesn't really make any difference. But I think they should, and maybe, I don't want to use the word should, okay? I got to watch what I say there. They could perhaps give us that opportunity to do so. And I think that's going to make a lot of people happy. For example, they do the pay banner, right? They do say, actually, and for sure, the Ramza one. You can get Ramza for sure if you summon enough. And bam, you can just buy them flat out from the shop. I didn't think that was a bad idea. Collective agreement from the entire War of the Visions community is that the lower rarity units should not be using the amount of rainbow fragments of thoughts that they are making us use. Okay, I agree with that 100%. I'm on board with the entire community. In fact, if I could write an email to the two companies every day about that, I would. You know what I'm saying? I really would. And here's an example to show that the company knows exactly what they are doing. Rainbow Fragment of Thought. You only can get 10 per month. And on top of it, let's see how to obtain that. Oh, you have to exchange rainbow spheres for it. 5 of them. Eventually, you're going to have so many rainbow spheres in this game that you're going to have way less rainbow fragments of thoughts. Another idea supporting that is through this. Too bad I can't instantly just click through things, right? Consume Visior's limited sphere. Look at that. You know how many of these you get? Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Okay, you get quite a bit of these rainbow spheres. Even if you did all of these different monthly missions, you're going to see that you get more rainbow spheres over rainbow fragments of thought. Your units require more rainbow spheres. That's a fact. They just require more of them. They're going to require less rainbow fragments of thoughts. So one can actually argue and debate that in the exchange shop, that's why for the number discrepancy. Sure, I agree with that. But the problem is that only applies to UR units. It doesn't apply to the lower rarity units, which many of us are coming to understand that so many of them are actually very powerful units, right? Very useful units. And not everyone has the luxury of owning all the UR units. Free-to-play player community do not have the opportunity to own every single UR unit. And that's a fact. And I'm trying to communicate to the free-to-play community only, because I'm not a whale, and even if I was, I wouldn't make content based on the fact I'm a whale, because I don't see a reason why free-to-play players will watch a whale and try to compare themselves. It doesn't make sense. One, maybe they can give us more rainbow fragments of thoughts or have ways to access them. Two, perhaps they can decrease the rainbow fragments of thought usage on lower rarity units. Or three, I guess that's technically three options. They could just do nothing. At the end of the day, we have to choose to accept those facts. And I'm really happy I got rain. I hope you guys have good luck if you do decide to save your gems, to summon or whatever. But just bear in mind, you need to be prepared to have some gems left over. One thing that my fiance's video has taught us that make sure you have enough resources left over to actually build the unit that you're seeking, right? And I think that's a good advice, and I think that's a sound advice. Until next time, take care of yourself, all your loved ones. Nashtaters out.